Welcome to We Are Venomaniacs, the Venom site's official podcast for all of your symbiote news, reviews, and point of views. My name is Orion, and I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts, Carlos
No.
and Tyler.
Heyo.
We're also joined by another member of our Venomaniacs ranks, Dylan, aka Dylan Kell. Welcome to the channel.
Happy to be here, and we are Venom.
Awesome. So, just a brief little introduction of yourself, Dylan. How long have you been a Venomaniac with us?
I've just started listening to your podcast probably as early back as I initially discovered it. I can tell you exactly when, but probably every episode, I'm assuming. Been a Venom fan since I was a literal toddler. I'm 34 now, 4 years old. He was my first action figure in my hand, and super fanboy ever since.
Awesome to hear.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love to hear that. Well, welcome to the show, and today we're going to be reviewing the Symbiote comics of September 2021. It's a bit late, I understand, but that includes Extreme Carnage, Toxin, Agony, and Omega, and we're also going to review the first issue of the new Venom series by Al Ewing, Ram V, and Bryan Hitch. So we'll go ahead and start with the end of Extreme Carnage, and then we'll move on to Venom number 1. So we'll start with Extreme Carnage Toxin. The son of Carnage takes center stage in this issue as Toxin struggles against Carnage's influence. As Toxin takes the fight to Carnage in the symbiotic hive mind, his host, young Bren Waters, rushes to Alchemax to find his father and make sure he's okay in the throes of Carnage's chaos. So this was a pretty fun little individual issue since we haven't had too much content with Bren Waters' Toxin so far outside of the Planet of the Symbiotes issue from King in Black. So what do you guys think about Bren's kind of first solo book outing?
This issue specifically, I would say Bren is almost like a background character. It's not really about the symbiosis. This is a book about Toxin, the symbiote. And this is such a return to form for him. I loved it. Like I've been a big fan of the Pat Mulligan Toxin. Obviously, he's always been my favorite Toxin host. But this is like his personality is back in full force. You know, little update to it with he's a little bit more mature than he used to be. But I loved everything. Like all the dialogue between him and Carnage was so good. I loved every bit of it.
Yeah, I second that. Never was a big fan of Toxin. It took me a while to even warm up to Carnage. Anyone that isn't Eddie Brock or isn't Venom, I immediately have an aversion to. But this probably is the first issue that actually made me a fan of Toxin. That dialogue in that void-like setting, and him not totally succumbing to Carnage either. That was a huge win for him. And I love that visual too of him ripping off the lower jaw and then the lower jaw itself becoming Carnage. But once again, him still not.
Yeah.
Him still not.
The visual was so much fun. I mean, you had like Toxin as a head literally just growing around Carnage and like consuming him.
Yeah, those are the next words out of my mouth. Like I said, I think the visuals were a standout amongst the entire run of the Extreme Carnage. And yeah, first issue to actually turn me over to being a fan of him myself.
There you go.
How about you, Carlos?
Yeah, as for me, I think I really did like the issue. Like the artwork was, it really popped with the colors and all that. I liked the whole reunion between Carnage and Toxin. They had their, father-son rebonding segment going on in the hive mind. Like, to me, I think this is like one of my top favorites out of Extreme Carnage. So I actually fairly enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it as well. And as usual with each of these issues, we have like two different artists going on, and I actually really like the way Gerardo Sandoval handles Toxin. I think it's a lot of fun, and I prefer the way he's drawing Bren Waters as well. But otherwise, this was definitely a very fun issue. It was fun to see Toxin finally have a lot more personality than he's had for the past however many years it's been since the Toxin solo. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Any other thoughts on this issue you want to discuss?
Well, just going back to art for a second, I will say typically I'm a little mixed on Gerardo Sandoval, but I will say the thing he does strongest is the actual like monster stuff. And so considering his whole segment is mostly just like two symbiotes fighting, it's great. Like in the beginning, it's that other artist who I'm not a huge fan of. It's the Danilo S. Beyruth, and it's just a little bit weaker. And so it's still not bad by any means, but it's just not the strongest. And so it's just an immediate change when it switches to Gerardo with that big spread of like Carnage trying to eat him, basically. And yeah, his symbiote stuff's gorgeous. But even though I do have a problem with some of his human faces and stuff here and there.
Yeah, they were a little off-putting.
Other things.
Yeah. And how about that final splash page with Toxin, Silence, and Agent Venom flying off into the
Dream Team.
Yeah.
The Dream Team, yeah.
The new symbiote team.
That'd be totally dope.
It is kind of weird that I'll say, this isn't a con or anything. It's kind of weird that is this the last we see of Bren's dad just being hauled away in the ambulance?
It is for this series, yeah. Also, I believe it's the first issue where he's actually named Oscar, or it's supposed to be Oscar, but it's Oscar.
Okay, yeah. So that's just kind of weird that they set up that whole plot line and then it doesn't really go anywhere. It's just his dad got hurt. There's like it feels like he's set up as like supposed to be like this reoccurring tension between Bren and his dad because his dad doesn't like symbiotes, but then that's not really touched on at all. Like Bren doesn't have any sort of drama to do with that.
Yeah, I definitely feel like Bren needs a bit more fleshing out for his character, especially his dynamic with his father, because his father seems to be, according to what we've seen in this issue, he's a bit of a hard ass with his son.
Right.
Bren, he's always expecting Bren to respect him, call him sir, and all that stuff. So,
I'm like for me too. Like I don't mind Bren and Toxin together. I mean, yeah, I do agree with Tyler. I do miss the old days when it was Patrick Mulligan, way back in the day. But I'm all for this new team up. So and unfortunately, it's going to be a while before we see them again. But who knows? We could see them sooner. I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I did just one last thing. This sort of ties into the next issue as well, but we never see their reaction that Toxin is a kid.
Right.
Like,
they kind of just take it in stride.
He shows up there as Toxin in this issue, and we won't see it until next issue. But he's just walking with them as Bren next issue, and they don't really touch upon that. That like, oh, this is a little kid.
Yeah, I figure it's because between Flash and Andy, he basically recruited Andy as a teenager, so it's like,
not really doesn't really have room to judge.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
Yeah, child endangerment isn't on his short list of things to worry about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next issue, Extreme Carnage Agony.
Do we want to grade that issue or anything, or
I don't think we need to grade it.
Just overall, let's do an overall grade for the whole event. I think would be
Yeah. So next issue is Agony. In this issue, we're properly introduced to Agony's new host, Gemma Shin, who plays an administrative role both in Senator Crane's Friends of Humanity campaign, as well as Carnage's plans. Things come to a head with Carnage's true host being revealed, as well as his plans for the Friends of Humanity rally. This was, I think, one of the best issues of the event. Just because
100%.
I love Gemma Shin in this. I love her as Agony. A lot of personality there. Very twisted.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on that for sure.
Absolutely. This is Alyssa Wong wrote this, and she also wrote the Riot issue, right? I believe.
Did she?
I think so. Or am I completely wrong on that?
I know that she wrote one of the Carnage Black, White, and Blood issues. I believe it was the one with the pirate Carnage, if I remember that correctly.
Yeah, she did that one as well. But yeah, she did the Riot one too. I'm just looking it up now. So like that issue, I would say it was good. I enjoyed it. It didn't really blow my mind or anything. It like Riot kind of had a small part of it, and the part I liked most was just like Andy and Flash getting reunited.
Yeah.
But it was sort of just like connecting the event together, just moving it along. It didn't really have anything major in it. But this issue introduces Gemma Shin as Agony, and she is a fantastic new villain. Like
I agree.
It's not Carnage. She's got her own thing going on, but it's so much fun, and just she's got her own personality, and just her own relationship with her symbiote. It's great, and she's still using the acid powers, and just like I love it. I love everything about this character.
Yeah, I love
can't get
the
enough of
acid
it.
powers. That's a unique ability from a symbiote. It provides like the readers with some pretty satisfying body horror.
And the thing is with Agony, like, was this like a power they introduced back in the Absolute Carnage tie-ins?
No, this
With
was
that one shot?
back in Lethal Protector. Like there's like one panel where she uses acid, and then they brought it back. Yeah, they brought it back for the Separation Anxiety Absolute Carnage issue, where she like burns the guy's face off or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely this was a very fun issue, and we also get the surprise revelation at the end of the issue that everyone kept on thinking, Senator Crane is secretly Carnage. But no, turned out it was his son all along, Arthur Crane.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, that was. I honestly, I was surprised it wasn't the dog still. Like
that's what we were all thinking was the dog.
I did think it was a dog, but I guess they already had a symbiote dog. So, but I will say that I'm surprised that. Well, I should say I'm not surprised that it wasn't Senator Crane. It was too much of a red herring with them, like especially like all the characters assuming it's Crane, and then it's just definitely not. It was just too obvious. So, but I guess his son made sense, and but we'll get into a little bit more of that in the next issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Flash's buddy Hank. When Senator Crane, when Arthur Crane was revealed as Carnage, it was because he stabbed Hank. So there was that little thing.
No, it was just, when I was reading, I'm like, well, good job, Flash. You sent your friend into certain death. Like you knew how dangerous was the whole time.
Kind of saw it coming too, because he kept saying, "Oh no, I don't think I should have gotten Hank involved in this," because he had doubts. So
yeah,
but yeah, we continue. I mean, there's a lot more about this issue to love. Like I think my favorite scene in the whole thing is once Gemma gets home. And then she's decorating her apartment with limbs and heads.
Yeah.
And then
that was good.
And then Carnage comes in. They go into the mindscape, and he sets up a bar for her.
Yeah, that was great.
I love how Carnage I don't know how to make a gin and tonic.
Yeah, no, with the little bow tie and everything he's got on, just like I don't know.
Yeah, like the dynamic between him and her was great in that scene, in that couple panels they did. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and finish it.
I just want to touch on the art once more. Is that I really like how this artist, specifically for the Dream Team of Flash, Andy, and Bren, you have each of the symbiotes traveling in a different method. Like Toxin is using the wings, Flash is like web slinging, and then Andy is using her hair as like stilts. It's really creative, and I like all the differences between them.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
Are you guys a fan of Silence herself, or do you miss Scream?
I'm more of
I'm mixed opinion of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, see, because the thing is, we haven't got to see a lot of the because I loved the relationship with Andy and Scream so much. It was so well done.
Right.
And I'm just hoping that's not totally gone. If it's not, and if Silence is just an evolution of Scream, I'm okay with it. But like, we'll have to see how that plays out, because other than the one issue where she's introduced as Silence, and we don't really get to see a lot of dialogue, because it does seem like there is still some sentience there, but it's just we're just not sure how much of that is Scream.
Aesthetically, do you prefer her look over Scream?
Aesthetically,
I would say
it's a tough question.
I would say yes, because even though Andy's Scream design was a little bit unique, it still kind of smacked of classic Don Diego Scream a bit much.
Yeah.
So
right.
I was glad to see.
That's fair.
I'm glad to see Scream as something a bit more unique.
Yeah, that's fair. It makes it more of Andy's own. I get that. Granted, I still feel like for Scream overall, I do prefer the mouth look that she always rocks, and Silence only sometimes has it. Which is overall,
Right.
but I mean, it works with the Silence, the whole name thing. So,
Yeah.
but
Right.
that's just a nitpick. So, both forms for me are good. I think I've slightly preferred Classic Scream just because I like the design a lot. It's striking, but this is still great.
Yeah.
And it goes along with the Dream Team with the red and white. So,
Yeah.
Yep. All right, and then let's go ahead and finish it up with the Extreme Carnage Omega. The big finale features a surprise appearance from Sleeper and a new host, and a bloody battle of the symbiotes. Despite Agent Anti-Venom, Silence, Toxin, and Sleeper's best efforts to stop Carnage, Agony and Carnage end up making us an escape, leaving behind the gory aftermath of a massacre and heightened anti-alien sentiment in the American public. So really, Carnage's entire plan just boiled down to, getting this whole anti-alien rally all revved up and everything, and then, publicly slaughtering everybody to really heighten the tension.
I don't know. Like for me, like Omega, I'm really kind of torn. It's a hit and a miss. Like I get it. Yeah, Carnage. He was there. They just start slaughtering people left, right, and obviously Sleeper's back, and now he's bonded to Hank, and also too because Hank doesn't even know it, but he has Sleeper as his new host. But
well, see,
and then
one part about that I'm actually glad about is that, like, I'm first off, I am happy Sleeper did appear in this because he is one of the Venom kids along with all these others we've seen, and so but the fact that it made Flash's plan to send Hank in not stupid because the fact that Sleeper was on him shows that Flash isn't stupid. He didn't just send a man to his death. He was a literal sleeper agent that he sent in. So I kind of love that.
Yeah. Sleeper decapitating Riot was the Thor showing up in Wakanda moment for me for the whole series. Yeah, I was really happy to see Sleeper come back. Seeing Carnage too, just the illustration of him killing the senator. Not to change subjects, but it made me long for an R rating that much more and let there be carnage.
That was real brutal.
I was actually taken back. I was surprising for a Marvel book, even though Marvel doesn't shy away all the time from showing gore in their books. This was exceptionally.
It was like on the level of like tearing the Sentry in half.
Right.
Yeah, I was actually reminded of wasn't it Venom tearing Null in half or something? Or am I misremembering?
Yeah. Well,
you mean Null tearing Sentry?
No. Oh yeah, Null tearing Sentry apart.
Yeah, because Sentry tore Ares, and then Null tore Sentry. So
Sentry can't catch a break.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like for me, one of the most disappointing things in the book is that I wish there was a confrontation between Sleeper and Carnage, because Carnage didn't really meet Sleeper yet. He never had a run-in with him in the hive mind. I guess they were trying to pace the book, and I guess that's understandable, but that was just one little nitpick I had. So I really would have loved to have seen the dynamic between those two.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But I'll say this. I would say of the whole Extreme Carnage, this probably is my least favorite issue, just because they are trying to wrap things up very quickly, and I kind of wish it had a little more room to breathe.
And you could tell it was kind of rushed in a way, a bit.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest con for this is the art. The art's not good. It's not. This artist is the same one that did the
Okay,
Alpha.
so I'm not the only one. Okay, good.
Absolutely. It's especially compared to what we've been getting in the one shots. This is by far the weakest artist of the whole event. Like I'll admit there's some panels that look good. Like some of the Carnage close up looks good. Looks intimidating, but then the faces for the people are just so mushy. Like they're made of Play-Doh. It's really not great. And I just wish it was stronger for the start and finish of this event to have a good artist.
Right. I was a little worried with Iron Man showing up, but I was happy that he.
Yeah.
I was happy that
Yeah.
he didn't. I was happy that he wasn't just the. I mean, just to use like another MCU reference, he wasn't the Stormbreaker of the story. Like he didn't show up and just wipe out Carnage and didn't just do away with everyone quickly. And Carnage actually took him out quicker than he would have taken everyone out.
Carnage was just like, you remember the last time you had like symbiote suits to deal with me?
Yeah, I'm glad that they brought that to the forefront. They acknowledge it. Like, no, just because you're Tony Stark doesn't mean you get to manipulate this like the symbiote. You may be the smartest with everything else. But when it comes to this shit, I got it covered. Stuff. I'm not sure if we're allowed to swear. I forget.
But no, you're good.
Okay.
But the one thing the thing is like I have a feeling like they just brought in Tony because they wanted to use his symbiotic infused armor that he got during King of Black. And I'm like, okay, so he's here, and I'm like, they're gonna do something with this. And then Carnage just he's doubled, everyone's ganging up on him, and then eventually he just steals the suit, and then he just flies away.
Yep, he's
like
a dragon now.
Yeah, now he's a dragon. So
right.
It's just kind of like you may have won the battle this time, but Carnage never dies, and I'm flying away now.
Yeah. I got that vibe. An extremist infused symbiote suit, or vice versa, is too novel of an idea to just do away with.
And now we know where Extreme Carnage gets its name.
There you go.
They did that in the first issue. They called it the Extreme Beyond.
Yeah.
Which is still a dumb name. Let's never call it that again.
Connection, right?
But yeah, that whole thing was just kind of odd to me. Like, even though like Tony didn't end up like saving the day or anything, it's just weird that he just pops in last issue. Hey, I'll help. Like, I honestly don't know if we needed Tony to be in this. Like, even if we wanted Carnage to get powered up and turn into a dragon again and just powered up for the future at some point, I don't know if we needed Tony. He didn't really feel natural to this event.
No.
Overall.
No, very shoehorned in the entire time.
It's just... Yeah, so that was just kind of messy. Could have been handled better. Like, I don't know if you needed Tony in this story at all. Like, Tony and Extreme Beyond, cut that out. Or
the only reason
Carnage is trying to steal it.
Yeah, the only reason Tony was in this issue was to resolve the whole Extrembiote thing left over from King of Black.
They set up in the first issue and didn't bring it back till the very end.
Yeah.
That much more reason to make an action figure too of that armor set. Which I'll be buying.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what are our overall thoughts for Extreme Carnage?
Overall thoughts is like, this was an event tailor-made for Symbiote fans. At least I think so. Like, Agent Venom is my favorite character of all time, and I love Andy, and I love Toxin, and to see that they're a new dream team and they're just fighting through this event. Carnage, one of my favorite villains, is that all the Life Foundation symbiotes. Like, I could not stop geeking out, and then not to mention we get new additions. Like, as you said, Bren's he's not new to this issue specifically, but he basically is because he was set up for this. So you have Bren as a new hero Toxin, then you have Agony as a new villain. Like, even in the last pages of this issue, they set up like Agony will return. It's just It's awesome. Like, she's a fantastic new villain. I can't wait to see more of her, and we're already going to be seeing more of her in the upcoming Devil's Reign event.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that because it's also being it's Devil's Reign Villains for Hire, and it's being written by one of our favorite symbiote writers now, Clay Chapman. Mm. It's gonna be so good.
It was. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
I was gonna pass it to you, Dylan.
Yeah, this is like. Yeah, sorry. Let me just say this is just. I agree with Tyler that this was a tailor-made event for symbiote fans. This was really an event made to let other symbiote characters shine outside of Venom. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, like as a Venom fan and someone who's not, I wouldn't even really. I read it all, but I wouldn't classify myself as a symbiote fan. I just don't like the carbon copies. Not that they are. They've absolutely earned their.
I mean, Riot basically is.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Riot is. And I would have liked if it was just. I think this was just an opportunity to give Carnage a more like a uniquely sinister plan, opposed to just killing a senator in front of a bunch of people. I know that's his MO is just murder and chaos, but I mean, the story overall, the overarching arch of the story it was still a little shallow for me, and
that's fair.
But better than most of what I've read in the past in regards to other symbiote centric stories. So I don't know. I give it like a 7 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah. It just in general, I kind of was intrigued. Like you said, Carnage did sort of have a plan. He was sort of hinting on throughout the whole event, and then in the end, it was just like, yeah, I'm just killing people. Like it just
right. He was just kind of like the villain of the week, the plan of the week for that villain. It's just like
yeah. I mean, to be fair, it is more planning than he usually does.
Touche.
As for me, that Extreme Carnage, it really was a treat throughout the summer. It had its fair share of highs and lows. I'm glad. Like one of my top favorite moments was obviously the reunion between Flash and Andy, which was one of the best scenes in books that I've read in a while. So I'm glad they're finally back, and Bren with Toxin. So they're with them as the dynamic duo, or the trio actually. And yeah, the event wasn't perfect. I mean, for me, Extreme Carnage Omega fell flat for me in some ways. But again, it was an overall great event. Not perfect, but great. So yeah.
For me, I think I'd grade this whole event at 9 out of 10, just because there was so much I loved about it. And then the few things I wouldn't like would say the artist for the first and last issues, and then Tony's involvement really wasn't necessary at all. But other than that, anything else is just nitpicking for me. And this was just like, inject this into my veins. The fact that I get like, they've set up this perfect team for me at the end that I love every one of those characters. I want a book about these characters so bad. And then they gave me a unique villain out of it, and just, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But also too, we have Arthur Crane still, because at the end of Omega, Agony is like pretty much tempting him to the dark side, or the evil, being evil. So
he wants his symbiote fix again.
Yeah.
Or didn't he have psychotic tendencies as a youth? Didn't they show that panel?
Yes,
they did. That was kind of weak for me. It's just like, he's also a crazy person. That's why he liked Carnage.
See, I kind of liked that. I liked that Carnage actually found a kindred spirit in that way, and then he possessed. I think that's kind of promising if they have a future bonded together. Granted, I want no one besides Cletus, but he's dead.
Yep, it's
in quotations dead.
It's nice that he's a kindred spirit with political power too. So
yes, Carnage very cool.
Definitely, because last time Carnage was on a major stage was he was basically working for Null, but now he's kind of free of Null, and he's saying, you know what, I want to stay on that large stage. I want a larger audience to promote my brand of chaos and everything. And now you have Arthur Crane who can help him with that.
Yeah,
that I enjoyed.
Gonna dangle that carrot in front of him and probably never give it to him.
Yeah. All right, so definitely it was a fun event. Has ups and downs, but I think more ups than anything.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, this was tailor-made, I think, for Symbiote fans. I love that. Even if it didn't always work, like with Riot, he didn't get much, but I think I really liked how they made an effort to give each symbiote its own personality, its own sort of like worldview. That's the wrong word for it, but yeah, they try to separate, because the Life Foundation in the past, they've always been like lumped together. Like I always know that I just kind of preferred them as hybrid. It was just always just easier. I have these 4 symbiotes that I can just lump together, and then obviously Scream is the only one I actually really care about. But I think this did a good job of, giving them each a little something of their own each. With Riot being the one exception, again, they didn't give him a whole lot. It was fun, the issue he was in, but it didn't scream to me like this needs to be his own character. Not like Agony did, not like Lasher did. Like even Phage sort of had some like with the dog. He just wants a simple life, and so yeah.
Yep. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to our final review today. Following up from the end of Donny Cates's run, writers Al Ewing and Ram V team up with artists Bryan Hitch, Andrew Curry, and Alex Sinclair to weave a two-sided tale following Eddie Brock as the new King in Black and his son Dylan as the new Venom. The first issue of this ambitious new series introduces mysterious new characters and raises many questions regarding Eddie's fate and Venom's future. So, just
the wait is finally over.
The wait's finally over. The dread has come. I've said this before on the podcast. I was not really too excited about this series from previews and everything. However, I will say after reading the first issue, I didn't mind it, honestly. I'm on board to see where this goes.
Yeah, same. It felt like a Donny Cates book in a lot of ways. I thought the writing and the way the story progressed was akin to a Donny Cates book. Eddie Brock is dead again. Like, they're really giving him an opportunity to earn that nickname, the Comeback King. How many times are they going to kill that guy?
Yeah,
a lot.
At least this issue helps invalidate the Carnage Black, White, and Blood Carnage Beyond issue of the story. So that was nice.
Right.
But yeah, my boy's dead again. Yay.
We got skull as evidence.
Yeah, now we can put it next to Cletus's corpse too. Yay!
Yeah, Eddie and Cletus are both currently skeletons.
God, I wish Aaron was here to give his thoughts about that.
He's salty about it. I know he
is. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but interesting new villains introduced, or possible villains, I would say. For one, we had a brief preview of another symbiote called Bedlam. So, wonder what that's all about.
All right, so just the Bedlam. I think I think he might be connected to Big Mother somehow. Like, he does sort of have a similar red vibe as she did. So,
yeah.
Big Mother's coming, so I am very interested to see that. But and plus Eddie being involved with Kang somehow, also a very big question mark. Like that,
yeah.
The whole thing was basically a tease of what's to come in the book.
Well, because he was using his new powers to like just briefly see into the future, and Kang showed up, and like some other flash forwards of events to come. So that was pretty neat to see.
Right, a little reminiscent of the after credit scene too, in a way, of Let There Be Carnage, because now if Eddie Brock can connect, I mean, since he is basically the hive mind now, and he can connect through time and space with other symbiotes, that keeps it current with the MCU. And then you have like the Kang edition, and the guy at the end, what was his name, and why did he look so much like Hela?
Meridius.
Yeah, Meridius. Yeah, this character is new to me, but very, very interesting.
New to everybody.
Very interesting. Yeah.
And was that a lake of symbiotes that he was coming out of, or like the material they're made out of?
I assume so.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really know, but I mean, it said it felt like coming home, he said. So maybe
that's why.
Clintar or something. It's like just everything made a symbiote.
Yeah, I mean, I read some of Immortal Hulk, and I'm always excited for the symbiote lore to be expanded on even further. I'm just a little apprehensive about it because, I mean, Cates did an excellent job. I mean, that's divisive. I thought he did an excellent job of expanding on the lore, but he still left like a little bit of ambiguity. Like, they said like the symbiotes themselves, or I forget which issue it was, are just basically the void of space itself before the Big Bang coming to life. I really like that explanation for symbiotes, if that's accurate. But I don't want that to be changed at all. And yeah, I mean, I trust the guy. What I read in Immortal Hulk was excellent, but I am a little worried I don't want him to do away with everything Cates did.
So
yeah, like as for me, like I trust the new team. Like after reading the first issue for this, like I'm very intrigued. Like I like how Eddie is now, he's able to connect to any symbiote throughout the galaxy, because even in the issue they were stating that there's still a lot of cleaning up to do after what Null did previously. And then we had that mysterious figure, that mysterious symbiote that had the glowing red eyes, and that's where everything just started off from, where that individual was warning Eddie of something to come that he can't reverse or can't change. And then also too, you see Dylan, he's still struggling in school because apparently he'll get expelled if he gets into one more fight. And also Orion, you also pointed this out about how Sleeper was still in his cat form.
Yeah.
So are we gonna say that this issue takes place before Extreme Carnage?
That's difficult to say, because in one of the solicitations for I think it's like number 2 or number 3, Venom number 2 or number 3, Arthur Crane is supposed to be making an appearance. So I'm thinking that this issue actually comes after Extreme Carnage, and I think Tyler, you might have pointed this out, that this is kind of typical of the symbiote editorial, where they're not really telling the writers, what's up with certain characters at certain times.
yeah, Marvel has a big problem with editors.
Yeah. So it's kind of just
but
an editorial
honestly,
inconsistency.
I don't think this specific thing is a huge deal, because Hank doesn't know about Sleeper. Sleeper can just crawl out of him whenever he wants to go hang out with Dylan and just go back. I don't think this is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Because specifically
also,
because they set up Hank doesn't know about it.
Also, speaking of inconsistencies, so apparently Eddie has blonde hair again. He's no longer an old man. I mean, did you guys catch that?
He's kind of old.
It was it was odd.
Old.
Yeah, he had like a fade from like the top of his hair was blonde, but then it faded into gray. So yeah, there was an inconsistency there for his age, for sure.
Yeah.
See, I would blame that on editors, but at the same time, I'm okay with them dialing back the old man thing.
I never liked that. I hated that.
No,
yeah, I don't need an old man.
Fell completely flat for me for the end of 200.
Same. Yeah, big time. They also, I mean, this is issue number 1 for this Dylan Brock Venom.
Yeah.
I was hoping for a unique take on the Venom face. They literally copy and pasted a life-size Venom sideshow bust.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice that?
I caught that. Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell is this? I don't even love that portrait of Venom. The teeth are so far spaced apart. It's like, come on, guys! I need a unique Venom face.
Now,
it's literally the same Venom except with chains. It's just,
exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Like they don't even draw the dragon symbol. It's just Venom with chains.
Now, the artist is Ram V, correct?
No, the artist is Bryan Hitch.
Oh, Bryan Hitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know it was the first issue, but again, the inconsistencies, right? I really would have preferred, they kept consistent with the Ryan Stegman's design with the white dragon logo. I guess they kept the spider logo. I don't know. To me, I don't mind the white dragon logo. So
I'm happy that they moved away from the dragon logo, because I prefer the spiders.
Oh.
The more classic look that Venom has, I'm always going to prefer, since I started with the McFarlane stuff. But I do like that Dylan Brock was, it was differentiated with the chains and the dragon. That's fine. It's supposed to be a bigger Venom too, right? I mean, I guess they did away with that when they showed the original number 1 issues with Bryan Hitch. But I think, Stegman purposely made him a bulkier Venom.
He definitely did. I think they even commented on that in 200, where he's like he's bigger or something.
Yeah,
And,
right. It was in the dialogue.
But I'm not a huge fan of Bryan Hitch, but I will admit that I think his work in this issue was all right. Other than moments like we're tracing, which was pretty bad, but
Yeah,
other than that, I thought his art was all right, better than his previous stuff. But I'm still not a huge fan of it.
right.
Like there's so many other artists I would have rather had this job.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
Overall, that almost feels like my whole opinion of this issue. Like I'm going to be someone who's a little more negative of this issue, where I didn't love it. It was all right. It was decent. There's some things I'm kind of interested in, and there's some things I'm not. Where I would say that the pros for me are going to be like the plot with Eddie. Like even though it is like what did I say? It's very high concept, and I feel like that's coming from Ewing. It's messing with the powers. It's different from what I'm used to. It's not exactly what I wanted out of a Venom comic. Like, so I'm just trying to figure out how to word this because it's like obviously it's very far from the status quo, and I'm okay with that on one hand because you're trying something different, right? I'm okay with trying something different, and it's change of pace. But at the same time, it's not like I'm worried it's straying a little too far from what I sort of want in a comic. So, but granted, I'm willing to trust Ewing for a bit because, like you said, Immortal Hulk is the most I've ever cared about Hulk. I've never been a Hulk guy, and Immortal Hulk was very interesting. I didn't love how it ended, but overall the journey was great. So, and plus, Ewing's Guardians of the Galaxy was so good. Ewing has done so much stuff I'm a fan of. I'm willing to give it a chance with Ewing. Even though it's like far future stuff thrown through time. Eddie's like piloting us. He's literally just like piloting a symbiote in the future while his body is dead. So, you know what? I'm willing to give it a chance. But at the same time, I'm not excited about the Dylan half at all because Dylan is now just an angsty teen going, Venom, you're not my dad. And it's just like that sounds like a parody. And so just the fact that we're going to have to deal with at least half of the book is going to be about that. And I'm not excited for that at all.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the fact that Dylan's age is even a problem for me because he's like,
it is.
When he was first introduced, he's like 9 years old, and now he's suddenly a teenager in high school.
I'm okay with a little bit of a time jump because of the whole Beyond thing.
Yeah,
but
the Beyond thing was just 1 year.
Yeah, and then like at the end of like he seems way older than he was at the end of 200. Like at least like 3 years older.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just don't really. I need to warm up to the idea of Dylan as Venom still. I feel like it was not the right direction for Dylan. He should have been Sleeper, and Eddie should have continued being Venom. But
I honestly would have preferred that. I would have
totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah. See, as someone, I remember when it was originally happening, we got the preview for I think it was like Venom 17 or 18, where it showed Sleeper like reaching out to Dylan for the Absolute Carnage tie-in.
Yeah.
And I remember not liking that idea.
That was the biggest troll.
No, I don't. See, I remember not liking oh, it's so obvious. Like the son of Venom with the son of Venom with the son of Eddie. Like come on. I hope they don't do it. And then they didn't in the issue, obviously. But looking back now, I would have much rather had that be the ending rather than him being the new Venom.
Yeah. Yeah, because again, it goes back to the whole thing of, Dylan becoming Venom does not feel deserved. And also, we haven't even touched on Venom in this issue. There's something going on with Venom. Something's wrong with Venom. I mean, in Venom number 200, Eddie Brock was all, this is perfect, my son with Venom. What could go wrong? But now Eddie is warning Dylan in this issue, do not bond with Venom. It's like, what's happening?
I was going to bring that up. Yeah, because in the issue, like, he's checking out the future. He's sensing the future, and he's telling Dylan, "Don't whatever you do, don't bond with the symbiote." And once again, I don't know why we're again doing the same thing from the beginning of Absolute Carnage, because they're doing kind of something similar, almost, but not exactly, where the Venom symbiote is like shrouded in mystery, like he's nowhere to be seen, like he hasn't been anywhere with Dylan in a while, and then in this issue he just pops up in a trench coat disguised as someone, and then bonds with Dylan like they did in Absolute Carnage #1, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Right. Are they just implying that he's been just watching over him this whole time?
I guess.
But he, like, the thing is, he doesn't need to, right? He should be like comfortable just living with them. It's like
right.
he's just somewhere in the shadows, and it's just
right. Yeah. Why be?
No, it's just a little weird.
I agree.
And besides, Sleeper's with Dylan the entire time as well.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, it's just, I don't know. I mean, the solicitations are kind of setting up Venom to going back to his corrupted state. Something's wrong with Venom.
Even this issue sort of did with that. Like they like this Venom specifically says like this, Dylan, like this we can take on the world. Like what? Where is that coming from?
Yeah.
Like I guess you can read that as Dylan's anger, because he's an angsty, angry high schooler, and it's just his anger is corrupting the symbiote. But it's just immediate. It's just immediate. The symbiote is going back to being nefarious, and I don't like that.
Yeah, like I've expressed this in the Discord. I've expressed it on Twitter a couple times, but like I really don't want the Venom symbiote to revert back to his aggressive nature, his angry state, and then having Dylan to constantly whine, complain. Like I don't want to see that. Like that. Like so far, it didn't really happen that as much in the first issue, but I really hope it's not like a recurring thing for this new series. That's what I'm afraid of. So.
Yeah. So, still apprehensive about this series, but I'm not as apprehensive as I was, before reading this issue. I'm on board. I will read it, but I still have my reservations.
Yeah. If I had to give this book a letter grade, even though I did 9 out of 10 for the last one, I'm doing a letter grade for this one. Don't worry about it. But I would give it a B-, I think. That's my personal rating.
I think. I mean, for me, I'll probably just give it a B. I mean, it was a decent start, but again, we gotta look forward to the next issue. So.
Yeah, I'll give it a B. Do you guys? I mean, granted, we have nothing to go off of, but do you guys have any ideas or theories as to who that warning was coming from?
That is interesting, because it's like, we get a brief glimpse of Kang the Conqueror, and apparently he and Eddie are going to have some sort of relationship in the future, where King is saying, I'm your oldest friend and all that. So maybe it has something to do with Kang, or maybe it's just Kang adjacent.
Right. Would you guys like to see Codex come back at all?
That's we don't know. I don't know if it would make sense, but I don't think so. But
yeah, I don't know about Codex, but in terms of who the villain is, I think it might be a new villain. Even though they haven't shown him, I think they were busy showing Meridius as like, look at this villain. This is going to be the big bad guy. But I think
that's what I was going to say. I think it might have been. I think it might be him that's causing the voices in Eddie's head.
See, I don't think that. I think Meridius is a red herring. Is like, because he's a new villain, and they're saying, look at this new villain. This is obviously the big bad guy. But I think then the secret's going to be, oh no, there's another big bad guy who's like somehow getting involved with the symbiotes.
Right.
But knowing Ewing though, Ewing can tie so much stuff into, like, he's a continuity master. Like, I can fully admit that. Ewing knows his stuff.
So that's comforting, then. I didn't know that about him.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much deep, like, even in Immortal Hulk, he talks about, like, Hulk can talk to ghosts or whatever, or, like, he can sense ghosts. And that's a thing Hulk could do in, like, some random issue way back when. And so, Yeah, Ewing is all about continuity, and so I'm very excited to see what kind of deep cuts he pulls. Like maybe it's not a new villain, and it is some obscure thing that Ewing makes into a big deal for the symbiotes or connects to symbiotes somehow.
Now, one thing, I know if Aaron was here, he'd probably bring this up, but he was making a connection from Meridius to some other kind of character or set of characters from the Avengers book. I
Yeah,
guess the
from Hickman's
Gardeners.
run.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's the Gardeners were essentially created by the Builders, who were like sort of like I'm not going to call them Beyonders, but they were like basically this sort of how the Celestials like created life and stuff. The Builders were like a mini version of that, and they were like these aliens that created a ton of life, and then they made these robots, and then also these Gardeners who were supposed to go and spread life. And so one of the ones that we were introduced to specifically in the Hickman run is called Ex Nihilo, I believe, and he's a big golden guy with big horns coming out of his head, and then a big like Omega symbol or something on his chest. And so Meridius does have a lot of those qualities because all the Gardeners had like different variations of horns, and this guy again does have a lot of big horns, and he's all like one skin color, except he's all black instead, and he's got a symbol on his chest. So there is a chance that Ewing's trying to connect them somehow. Like,
Yeah. So there's that too. Um, any other thoughts on this issue before we close out?
Yeah, again, like I said, the first issue, like it was a decent read. Like it's clearly setting up something big that's going to come with Meridius, Kang the Conqueror, Big Mama, and we're just going to have to wait and see what those connections are, what Eddie and Dylan are going to go through. And also, we have also apparently Carlton Drake and the Life Foundation is going to return as well, which is pretty cool to hear. So
Yep. Them, and then of course Arthur Crane and the Friends of Humanity will also be making a return. So definitely a lot of cool things that could be happening with this series, but definitely it's going to take some time for at least me to warm up to this.
Not quitting on it yet.
Yeah, no, I mean there is potential here. It's just I feel like it's sort of muddied by my whole apprehension of the Dylan thing, and just if I'm looking at this as a Venom #1, I don't know if this does an amazing job as a #1, like making me excited for the rest of the series, or like I don't know if this is a great introduction for new readers. Like if I'm comparing this to Venom #1 by Donny Cates, that is such a stronger issue. Like that made me excited for the future, and like I think it was a great jumping on point for new readers.
Mm-hmm.
This I would not recommend to new readers. Like I would say, okay, you got to start way
trade
back
weight
here
it.
because
trade weight this one.
Yeah. So like I'm not looking forward to I'm very apprehensive and wary of what's coming next. I'm not like jumping out of my seat excited.
At least we're not at the Costa #1 stage.
Yeah, no. Oh my goodness, that was depressing.
I mean, even you have to admit this one would be better than that. So
Oh, no contest. No contest.
All right, so that wraps up Symbiote Comics of September 2021, as well as Venom #1. Join us in our next episode as we review the second issue of the Venom series. We are kind of slimming down schedule-wise on how many Symbiote comics we're going to be getting. So at this stage,
the train's kind of rolled to a crawl.
Yeah, especially given the impact on the production lines and everything. That's probably also playing into it. But right now,
the whole variant thing and the printer issue, that's why it took a while for the issue to come out.
If things get really desperate, we can always review Symbiote Spider-Man.
No.
All right, so you can listen to We Are Venomaniacs on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Music and iTunes, Audible, and YouTube. We can also be found on Twitter at WAV_podcast. Check out our Discord server where you can geek out with a community of Venomaniacs like us. As always, thank you to my fellow co-hosts, Carlos and Tyler, for joining me today.
Thank you for listening.
Happy to be here, and I want a side symbiote book right now. Where's my team book? My dream team book.
Yeah. And thank you to Dylan as well for joining us today.
Guys, thanks for having me, man. It's a blast. I really appreciate it.
Great having you here.
Our pleasure, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. And of course, thanks to the Venom site for permitting us to make this podcast under the TVS banner and all of your generous support. And finally, thank you, loyal listeners and fellow Venomaniacs. You guys make an awesome community, and it's an honor to be your voice on the airwaves. Together, we are Venomaniacs.